Hello to all of you who are involved in road safety. In the opening, I want to remind you that bad road markings generate more than half of road accidents. Is this intersection correctly signposted through the applied markings? How many problems have you identified? 0, 1, 2, 5? How many could it be? In this architecture, there are no less than 5 problems that generate insecurity, traffic jams, and increased risk of accidents. 5 problems. That's all I found, but someone smarter and more perceptive might find other problems that I haven't thought of. Let's see what the problems are, but also the solutions to solve them. First, danger when crossing the street. The road laws of the states tell us that crossing the streets is done at pedestrian crossings, and in their absence, at the corner of intersections, after we have made sure that we can do it without danger for us and for other traffic participants. Let's see how correct it is to cross the street at the corner of intersections. And the family, and the school, and the traffic police told us and taught us that we have to be safe from the left and the right. But no one ever told us that if we cross the street at the corner of the intersections, even on the pedestrian crossing, we should also make sure from the front and the back. Yes. One of the vehicles on the blue corner could turn right, as well as one of the vehicles on the green corner of the intersection could turn left and surprise you crossing the street. If the drivers of these cars are careful and skilled, there should be no problem. They should stop and give you the right of way, because you're just on the crosswalk. It's just that things are sometimes a bit more complicated, especially for less experienced drivers, because executing a turn involves several operations, such as signaling, securing, changing gears, sometimes braking, and distributive attention. Here comes the problem. The visual field, and especially the peripheral visual field. In many cases there are blind spots in the uprights between the windshield and the door glass, generically known as the A-pillar, which could cause the driver not to notice you in time, or at all. If they don't notice you in time and the speed is not matched, you could end up a figure in the statistic. Some vehicles have the A-pillar doubled. Minibuses, buses, SUVs, and in this case, the drivers of these vehicles have a blind spot of 15 to 20 degrees. The solution? Pedestrian crossings should not be at the corner of intersections. I did not invent the wheel nor hot water. It's just that things have a different dynamic and a different perspective if the pedestrian crossings are located away from the corner of the intersections. Let's see now. You make sure only from the left side and from the right side, because you have no other dangers from other directions unless a plane lands on the pedestrian crossing. Vehicle drivers notice you in advance, because you are in the field of vision of all drivers on the street you are crossing. We return to the basic picture and discuss the second problem. Blocking intersections. It often happens that when you force the yellow color of the traffic light, you arrive at the pedestrian crossing at the moment when the pedestrians turn green and start crossing the street. You stop, you give them priority, but you block all the traffic on the intersected street. And it doesn't need to be a traffic-lighted intersection, because when the pedestrian crossing is crossed, from whatever direction you come by car, you will have to stop in the path of other vehicles and thus blockages are formed. Are the images familiar to you? This is what happens when you can't move past the corner of the intersection and are forced to block traffic. The solution? I'll have to repeat myself. Crosswalks should never be placed at the corner of intersections. If we move the crosswalk some distance from the corner of the intersections, we will create a buffer space for those exiting the intersection and entering this street segment. In this way we will release the traffic from the intersected street, so the intersection remains free. The third problem. Stuck in intermittent prioritization. What is that? Let's see. You want to enter the intersection from a non-priority road. I have now put road signs in the image for easy understanding. Before entering the intersection, you have a crosswalk and you automatically have to give way to pedestrians. Then you must give priority to vehicles traveling on the main road or on the priority road. Even in conditions of maximum visibility, it may happen that you cannot enter the intersection easily. Once you are free to enter the intersection because no vehicle is driving in the intersection on the priority road, but you have pedestrians who engage in crossing, then you have the pedestrian crossing free and you advance towards the corner of the intersection, but there are vehicles in the intersection on the priority road. While you wait for them to pass, other pedestrians engage in the crossing and you lose the moment to enter the intersection again. It happened to you too, right? This flashing can be fatal. You've just made sure the intersection is clear, and when you're about to start, an inattentive pedestrian appears in front of the car and you hit him on the hood. The solution? And I repeat myself. Crosswalks should never be located at the corners of intersections. If we move crosswalks some distance from intersection corners, we will create a buffer space for those entering the intersection. Now, you first give way to pedestrians, then you advance to the entrance of the intersection, where you give way to cars from the main road, and when you are free, you enter the intersection unhindered. We eliminate risks, eliminate conflicts, eliminate possible accidents. The fourth problem is that many states completely ignore particularly important road markings. The stop and yield markings on the asphalt create a high degree of risk. Let's see. On lane 1 we have a car, and on lane 2 we have a truck, bus, or other tall vehicle. The truck driver will be able to easily see the stop or yield sign. In reality, we encounter this image only in the situation where the truck is turning left and has entered the second lane. In all other situations, the truck will be in the first lane, and the car will be in the second lane, and in this case, the driver of the car does not have a visual field of view of the stop or give way indicator, and there is a possibility that he will enter the intersection without. Make sure we also encounter the same situation if the stop or yield signs are covered by vegetation, the sun is rising or setting and can blind you, or rain, snow or fog prevents you from seeing the signs easily. The truth is, it makes no sense to put the stop or give way marks in this configuration. If you put them, they don't make sense. Stop at the pedestrian crossing? Does the pedestrian crossing give way? No, it doesn't work. Stop or yield signs should be mandatory at all intersections, because they are in the driver's field of vision and cannot be ignored or overlooked due to lack of visibility. The solution? Same. Crosswalks should never be placed at the corners of intersections. If we move crosswalks some distance from intersection corners, we will create a buffer space for those entering the intersection. Both directional markings and stop or yield signs can be placed in this area. That way, you can't miss the meaning of the duty to stop or give way. The fifth and final problem I identified: lack of reflectivity of markings. You can't see this problem in the picture, but it exists on many markers around the world. The reflective markings are visible both during the day and especially at night, in rain or fog. Reflectivity standards for markings differ from country to country, and what for the United States means worn out and must be remarked, for many other countries is the standard for a new marking. The reflectivity of markings is very important for traffic safety, but especially markings at pedestrian crossings. When a pedestrian engaged in crossing the street is dressed in dark-colored clothes, the reflectivity of the marking could draw the driver's attention that there is an obstacle on the crosswalk. The authorities of the Canary Islands have understood the advantages of this pedestrian crossing architecture, which helps both the flow and above all the safety of traffic. Today, 99% of intersections are drawn correctly, and traffic in these intersections flows without blockages. Let's recap. If we leave buffer spaces between the corner of the intersection and the crosswalk, the cars entering the intersection will pass the crosswalk and will have to give way only to the cars in the intersection, without any pedestrians who want to cross the street entering the conflict with the driver's starting intention. So, I see the crosswalk. Give priority to pedestrians. Move forward and cross the crosswalk to the corner of the intersection in the buffer zone. And now give priority to cars only. Again. I see the crosswalk. I give priority to pedestrians. I move forward and pass the crosswalk to the corner of the intersection in the buffer zone, and now I give priority only to cars. Again. I see the crosswalk. I give priority to pedestrians. I move forward and pass the crosswalk to the corner of the intersection in the buffer zone, and now I give priority only to cars. When exiting the intersection, the buffer zone will provide enough space for those exiting the intersection, so that the stop to give priority to pedestrians does not affect the traffic in the intersection. Let's see. I exit the intersection, and in the buffer zone I stop at the pedestrian crossing to give priority to pedestrians. Behind me, the cars in the intersection drive unhindered because I'm not in their way. Again. I turn right to exit the main road and stop in the buffer zone to give way to pedestrians. During this time, the cars on the main road from which I exited do not have to stop behind me. One more time. I exit the roundabout and the long enough buffer allows me to wait for pedestrians to cross in the buffer behind another vehicle without blocking the traffic behind me. In this way, travel time, pollution, conflicts and accidents will be halved. That was about pedestrian crossings and fluency in city traffic. Now, we will talk about voluntarily passing the speed limit without cops, without cameras, without speed cameras, without stress, without accidents. What is the element that makes it possible to voluntarily reduce the speed of travel? Unlevel pedestrian crossings, or better said raised to the level of the pavement, have a double effect. 1. They will oblige all drivers to travel at the legal speed on that road segment, and 2. Easy access for disabled people in wheelchairs is ensured. Those responsible for traffic safety have discovered the solution to calm the speed of movement. These elevated pedestrian crossings, with appropriate angles of attack and clearance, make it possible for all vehicles to move safely at preset speeds. Within the legal speed limit, any vehicle will pass over these pedestrian crossings without any problem. At a higher speed of 10 km per hour, you and the passengers will feel the bump, but if you are Schumacher on the public road, you will have expensive experiences. A broken bumper, radiator or broken oil pan will definitely stop you from stepping on the accelerator in the future. This pedestrian crossing met with a few tourists who ignored the speed limit and handed over the rental car with some trouble. When you hit the crosswalk once, remember to reduce your speed to safety next time. Often, going 30 to 40 km per hour is faster than when you have a speed limit of 50 or 60 km per hour. The traffic is much more fluent and at the same time much safer. These elevated pedestrian crossings should be built on all roads where speed limits are known to be frequent, near schools and in places where accidents often occur, boulevards, towns, national road transits and wherever necessary. Speed limiters like this have no use. For those who drive correctly, these limiters will only destroy the joints of the car. For speedmen, they have no effect. I myself went over them and with more than 100 km per hour. If you liked the material you watched, thank you for the like.